A raw vocal recording almost never sits well in a mix. It sounds thin, harsh, or like it's floating on top of the instrumental instead of being part of it. In this tutorial, I'll walk you through a simple vocal mixing chain in Logic Pro using only stock plugins. 8 steps, no third-party tools, and at the end, you'll hear the difference on the actual track. Before we touch anything, here's the dry recording.
The world is big enough, can't you see? Mountains wide and endless seas.
The first plugin in the chain is Channel EQ, and the job here is cleaning, not coloring. Vocal recordings often have resonances, narrow frequencies that ring or sound boxy, usually somewhere in the lower mids around 200 to 500 Hz. To find them, I add a narrow band, boosted by around 10 decibels, and sweep across the frequency range. When something jumps out and sounds unpleasant, I stop, drop that band by a few decibels, and narrow the cue. The goal isn't to cut a lot, it's to remove the spots that make the vocal sound muddy or honky. Now a second channel EQ, and this one is for shaping. I start with a high-pass filter around 80 to 100 Hz to remove low-end rumble the vocal doesn't need. Then I look at the body. If the vocal sounds boxy, I cut a bit around 300 Hz. If it sounds dull, I add a gentle boost in the upper mids, around 3 to 5 kHz for presence. And finally, a high shelf, around 10 to 12 kHz for air. This is what makes a vocal sound open and modern. Small moves here, 2 to 3 decibels, is usually enough. Next is de-esser 2. Vocals often have harsh sibilants, those sharp S and T sounds that stab your ears, especially after EQ when you've boosted the high end. I set the detector to look for sibilants, usually somewhere between 5 and 9 kHz, and adjust the threshold until those harsh peaks get tamed without making the vocal sound lispy. You're not trying to remove the sibilants, just take the edge off. Now compression, and I'm using Logic's compressor in vintage VCA mode. VCA compressors are fast, clean, and great for controlling vocal dynamics. I aim for around 3 to 5 decibels of gain reduction on the loudest parts, a medium attack so the consonants still cut through, a fast release so it breathes with the performance, and a ratio around 3 to 1. The point isn't to crush the vocal, it's to make the quiet parts louder and the loud parts quieter, so the vocal sits more consistently in the mix. Next, Fat Effects. This plugin adds harmonic saturation, which makes the vocal feel fuller, warmer, and more present, without raising the volume. I use it subtly, just enough drive to add character. If you can clearly hear the distortion, it's too much. Saturation is one of the things that separates a beginner mix from a polished one, because it makes the vocal sound expensive without making it louder. Now a second compressor, this time the compressor in Platinum Digital mode. The first compressor handled the big dynamic moves. This one catches whatever's still poking out, usually only 1 to 2 decibels of gain reduction. 2 light compressors in series sound smoother and more transparent than one heavy one. That's a common pro technique called serial compression. Now reverb, but I'm not putting it directly on the vocal channel. Instead, I create a bus send to a separate reverb channel. This way, I can blend dry and wet independently and use the same reverb on multiple tracks later if I want to. On that reverb bus, before the reverb itself, I drop in a channel EQ and high-pass it around 200 to 300 Hz. This stops the reverb from muddying up the low end of the mix, which is one of the most common beginner mistakes. After the EQ, I add chromaverb and load the concert hall preset. Concert hall gives a wide, open space without sounding too obvious. I keep the send level low. You should feel the reverb more than hear it. If you can clearly tell there's reverb on the vocal, you've probably gone too far. That's the full chain. Channel EQ for cleaning, channel EQ for coloring, de-esser2, vintage VCA, fat effects, platinum digital, and a reverb send with EQ and chromaverb. Now, let's hear it in context with the instrumental.
The world is big enough, can't you see? Mountains wide and endless seas. There's a place for you, there's a place for me. We don't have to fall to rise, we just have to rise together. The skies are running out of stars. The world is big enough, can't you see? Mountains wide and endless seas. There's a place for you, there's a place for me. We don't have to fall, we just have to rise together. The world is big enough, can't you see? Mountains wide and endless seas. There's a place for you, there's a place for me. We don't have to fall to rise, we just have to rise together. The skies are running out of stars.
Same recording, 8 stock plugins. No magic, no presets you can't replicate. A few honest things to keep in mind. These are starting points, not fixed settings. Every vocal recording is different, and the room, the mic, and the singer all change what each plugin needs to do. So use your ears more than your eyes. If a move makes the vocal sound worse, undo it. If this was useful, subscribing tells me to make more Logic Pro tutorials like this one. There's a lot more vocal mixing depth I didn't cover here. Parallel compression, automation, how to handle background vocals, and those are coming in future videos. Thanks for watching!